There's a lot of movies. Lots of movies this decade. There was like at least 10. I really like movies. I really like them. I prefer movies to TV shows, and I'll tell you why. I find film to be so much more transportative as a medium. To binge a TV show will never ever equate to the experience I can get from one continuous film. And because of that, I want to count down 25 films that really hit me in the heart this decade. Just like all my other lists, this is not about merits, it's not about accolades, it's not about my dog barking. It's about how it affects me, whether it made me cry, whether it made me laugh, whether it made me clench my fists in anger because someone was doing something terrible on screen. If it made me feel something potent, that's why it's here. So without further ado, let's just, stay hydrated. Number 25 is gonna be Inception. When I first saw this film, it had this initial mind blow impact, I guess I would call it. The final scene with the top on the table starts to quiver and then it cuts to black. I was having existential crisis for the rest of that day. The film no longer has that heavy of an impact, but still very well paced, still incredibly well shot. The acting from everyone really holds up well, especially Leo DiCaprio in the scenes with Maul. Number 24, Rango. When I first saw it, I didn't understand it. When I watched it recently in like 2017, I have no idea how this got approved, but I'm so glad that it did. This is one of my favorite animated kids movies of this decade. Number 23, Get Out. Again, a film that is not without flaws, but still executed in a manner that brought something crunchy and hard-hitting to a mainstream audience, especially with the race stuff. Number 22, The Martian. I praise this film mainly for its scientific accuracy. Don't quote me on this because I am by no means an expert, but from my understanding, everything that happens in this film is 100% scientifically accurate. Is it implausible? Sure, but could a man survive by eating potatoes on Mars? Yeah. Also possibly one of the only sci-fi movies that's crazy like this where no one dies. Number 21, Django Unchained. Tarantino knows how to tell a revenge story. What can I say? His Australian accent? Sucks. Garbage. Get it out of my way. But everything else? This is also one of the bloodiest films I've ever seen. Also one of the most racist, but that's just part and parcel of making a period piece, which is really, bloody. There's a joke there. I'm not gonna make it, but there's a joke there. Number 20, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This one was really weird because the first time I watched it, I hated it. But as I watched it for a second and third time, I started to understand what the film was really about, and that payoff stuck with me. All the performances are excellent. Sam Rockwell's character arc, I can't remember his name in the movie right now, but his character arc is phenomenal. And the shots, like when they follow him up the stairs into the office, solid all around. Number 19, The Big Short. This is a good, I suppose it's a mockumentary, if you really want. A docudrama, really, but it feels like a mockumentary. And this divides a lot of people, and by a lot of people, I mean a specific individual who wears glasses, has curly hair, is taller than me, and name starts with E and ends in Zra. And I don't mean to throw those people under the bus, but they're wrong. This is an excellent piece about the 2008 housing crisis. I can't think of a better way to present it in a sense that is both darkly comedic and educational to the audience. All the while, it feels nearly satirical. Just in presenting the events, it feels satirical. Number 18, that's John Wick. Did I think the story was dumb the first time? Yes. Did I think the story was dumb the second time? Yeah. But on the second viewing, I realized that it wasn't about the story and that it was about the action. And the action is like ballet. And I know you've heard that a lot of times if you've done any sort of Google search for John Wick, but I'm right. Number 17, The Nice Guys. When I saw the trailer for this, I was hardly anticipating it because I thought it was going to be a sellout buddy comedy that just happened to be decently well shot. I was very wrong. This film has such an enjoyable script, such an enjoyable plot. It feels like it wants to be highbrow for its entire duration, but is never above a fart joke. Like, not even 20 minutes in. I guess that's what I like so much about it. It's such well-directed and concise comedy. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and yet it is never above itself. Number 16, La La Land. Now, you saw this one after it won a Golden Globe, or it was nominated, or whatever, because when I went to go to the theater, it was packed, and I had to sit in the very front row like some sort of idiot who showed up late. But I'm not blaming myself for showing up late. I'm blaming Damien Chazelle for making such a damn good movie. Choreography, the acting, the sets, the shots, the color palettes that are used, the big beautiful purple sky. And despite being so memorable, I never felt annoyed rewatching it. I've rewatched this probably 8 or 9 times, and I've never ever gotten bored of it. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone do such a good job in their roles, and while the ending does divide a few people on whether or not it should have gone one way or should have gone the other, I think the ending's perfect. If it would have ended with a happily ever after, I don't think I'd have it on this list. Number 15, Arrival. I've never seen an alien film where we're really breaking down the communication and the linguistics of it, where a linguist is the main protagonist. By the way, Amy Adams, good damn performance. I think some of the emotional stuff is just a tad cheesy here and there. It definitely overcomes it. The CGI is phenomenal. The plot is watertight, really. I've thought about it a lot. I can't see any holes in it. It's just shot so well. The first wide sweeping shot of the alien's pod, it's stunning, really. It's just it's stunning. Stunning is the word. Stunning is the word that we will use to describe the wide shot that introduces the alien pod to the film viewer. Number 14, Snowpiercer. When discussing Bong Joon-ho as a director, I get 2 types of people. The majority know him as the guy who made Snowpiercer or Okja. And the other half say, how dare you watch those and call them his best? His Korean language ones are the best. The ones he directed in English are totally like whitewashed and not actual Korean films, and you're filth for liking them. I disagree with one of those groups, and you can decide which one that is for yourself. If John Wick is a near perfect action film for how it is choreographed, Snowpiercer is a perfect action film for constantly sweeping the rug out from under my feet. Just when I think I know what's going on, something crazy happens. I'm talking someone is rolling a cart of eggs down the trolley and they pull out dual scorpions and start blasting into a room full of children. I'm talking, I still don't know what the fish and the axe really meant. Oh. That scared me though. If that was your goal, Bong Joon, I applaud you. Number 13, It's Such a Beautiful Day. This one's a little less well known than everything else on the list. It's only an hour long, it's not even feature length. It's a short animated film by a one Don Hertzfeldt. It was released in 2012. It was produced over the course of 6 years, and it was produced in 3 separate parts, which when stitched together form one cohesive story of a stick figure named Bill. Bill has dementia, so we get to experience Bill's life not as one linear piece, but as these little snippets of his life. It's framed as though someone is burning a hole through film, and through that, we get to see Bill's life. The film is very tragic, very philosophical, touches on how mortality is essential to happiness in life, and despite being a stick figure, I felt more for Bill than I did almost any other character I've seen on film in the last 10 years. Number 12, Mad Max Fury Road. It's on everyone else's list. Why gotta be on my list, right? You know, like everyone else is like, this is the best action movie, so I gotta agree, or else I'm an idiot. In all seriousness, I appreciate Mad Max, perhaps not for all of the technical aspects. I think that the practical effects do look great, but what really draws me is the balls to the wall insanity that happens in this film. If a normal film arc has rising action, a climax, and then falling action, and then a resolution, Mad Max has, here is Mad Max, and then the climax is the entire film, and then there's resolution within the last few shots. Mad Max for film did for me what Doom did for games. That's how I'll put that one. Number 11, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, this is the best piece of Marvel entertainment ever created. I don't know how this got greenlit, how anyone was like, we should do these frame-by-frame comic book hand-drawn layovers. The characters are incredibly memorable and well-designed. The dialogue is cheese, but it's nice cheese, alright? It's better than the Matrix cheese. That says something. I can put up with some cheese from The Matrix. The design of the villains, amazing. I love that Kingpin just takes up the entire screen. Best Spider-Man movie. And so, we reach our top 10. Number 10, Birdman. I just talked about The Nice Guys being unpretentious as a comedy. And Birdman, if I were to classify it as anything, it is a black comedy. This is as pretentious as enjoyable films get. It is filmed in like 2.5 to 5 minute shots in order to create the illusion of the film being one single long take. Somewhat an illusion with an A to how the main character is trying to put on his perfect play, and in doing so, we follow him through it. What really strikes me about Birdman is the performance. Michael Keaton, good God, the scene when he is at the bar with the film critic, it is just drilled into my mind. There's so many quotables that I remember from this film. I think Birdman was just like art. That's so silly of me to call it a pretentious film and then say that it's art, but this couldn't come from any other place than an appreciation for the art of cinema and the art of theater melded into this one Frankenstein's monster. It's heartbreaking, it's incredibly depressing, and it soars. Number 9, Annihilation. I did not think that a Natalie Portman sci-fi, especially when I think Natalie Portman sci-fi, I think of Attack of the Clones. I didn't think that this one would be as good as it were. Annihilation stunned me with its design choices. Some of the dialogue is cheesy, especially when some characters are dying and they're trying to give their final words. The visuals outweigh all of it for me. The creature design, the bear, the freaking bear. If you have seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. That bear is the shit of nightmares. And then you get to the final scene, which I won't spoil, but it felt like what I had accepted as surreal before was now the normal, and what I was seeing in the final shot was now the definition of surreal. I was glued to my seat for the entire finale. I loved it. Number 8, Moonlight. Moonlight is one of the most heartbreaking movies I've ever seen. It's not the most, but it's one of the most. It put me in a position where I really thought about life. And I don't mean life in the sense that, oh, what if I die tomorrow? I mean life in the sense that, what am I going to do tomorrow? How I would act on others, how what I do impacts others. The way that the camera is like a character really struck me. How you don't see both of the two friends in the same frame until they finally spit out the truth as to why they came to visit. It's sad but soothing at the same time. Number 7, Whiplash. As someone who struggles with creativity, Whiplash hit me like a goddamn truck. I watched this in music class in French, so I didn't get the full impact. The translations were terrible. The way Fletcher just screams his brains out at Neiman when he's on the drums. I've never seen music filmed so passionately. You can tell that Chazelle had such a deep care and passion for this film. Even more than La La Land, I would say. Number 6, Manchester by the Sea. We're just going on a downward spiral here. Yeah, Manchester by the Sea is the most depressing film I've ever seen. It's really a character study. Casey Affleck absolutely deserved his Best Actor nomination. The script is incredible. It may not be the best shot film I've ever seen, but the way that it is structured and the story that it tells shook me. Like, really shook me. There is one scene where, no spoilers, but a character attempts to take their own life. I was so invested with how raw and real the film felt that I grabbed my seat, and then I realized what was going on. It pains me how real the portrayal of depression and grief is in Manchester by the Sea. It haunts me to this day. Number 5, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Wacky, absurd, and so Wes Anderson. It's impossible to have a Wes Anderson film that isn't Wes Anderson, but this one is more Wes Anderson than most Wes Anderson films. Ralph Fiennes is a god in this film. I love his performance. Everyone just commits non-stop. The dialogue is hilarious. The shots and the color palettes, obviously, it's Wes Anderson. I loved every second of this goddamn movie. I loved it. Number 4, Blade Runner 2049. I don't know if I would be in the minority if I said that I enjoy Blade Runner 2049 more than the original. I haven't had enough discussion to say, but I know that the themes explored in 2049, they build on what was in the original Blade Runner, and they do so in a way that got to me more emotionally. There is one particular scene that was engraved in my memory from my first watching of this film, and that was the sink scene. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It felt like emotional horror to me. It was a concept that I had never ever thought of. This film brought so many new ideas of the future to the table. Soundtrack, the visuals, Ryan Gosling's in it. Are you kidding me? It also provided us with this gif of Ryan Gosling screaming at a table, which is one of my favorite reaction gifs of this decade. Number 3, It Comes at Night. Number 3, It Comes at Night. The group of teenagers that were sitting behind me when I saw this in theaters, I hate all of you. I hate all of you so much. I wish the theater staff would have come in and beat you with the brooms that they had to use to clean up the popcorn that you spilled all over the goddamn floor, you monsters. Films that leave much to the imagination and the interpretation of the viewer are often not very popular because people like to have cohesive stories, and It Comes at Night does not have a cohesive story. It was marketed as a run-of-the-mill monster in the woods horror movie, and it did not provide that. It provided intense, psychological, even philosophical horror. The concept is simple. A virus has eradicated a lot of people. You have to live in isolation, and they meet another family and they must live in isolation as well. This film is gut-wrenching. The grip that this film managed to keep on me for its entirety, the tension put on display here, was shocking to me. There's one scene in particular involving a rifle, and I dropped my popcorn. I had to put it down because I was so in shock at what I had just seen. It was disgustingly emotional. It's a horror film that plays with your mind in every single way possible. Number 2, The Lighthouse. I feel odd putting something so recent so high on my list, yet I feel I have to. This was filmed very close to where I live, and so seeing a lighthouse off the coast so close to home for me, it felt like someone invited this mythical insanity into where I live. And even if I didn't have these personal connections, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson both still give the best performances of their lives. The set and the black and white film that it is shot on are chilling. The imagery used in this film is it's sharp. It's a blade, and it carves its way into your mind, and it doesn't let go. There is not a shot from this film that I don't remember. If there is a singular film on this list, and I know it's weird putting this at number 2 and saying that I want you to watch this, but this is the film that I want you to watch, because it is the strangest, most out there, most diabolical and sinister in nature out of everything on this list. This is pure cinema. This is phenomenal filmmaking. What is number 1? What is number 1 but Drive? Drive is perfect. Drive is untouchable. I have seen Drive well over 10 times, and it has never gone stale. The first 10 minutes are the best chase scene I have ever seen put to film. The rules that Refn uses for using the camera, the way he divides people in his shots, the way Ryan Gosling keeps this straight face for near the whole film, the elevator scene. I don't know what I can say about Drive other than it is perfect. The pacing is slow, and that will turn a lot of people off. I've recommended this to numerous people, and they've come back to me saying that it was all right, but I didn't really get this or this. Everything has a purpose in this film, and everything that happens in this film, to me, is executed the best way that it possibly could. So that's my list. I regret not watching as many films as I should have this decade, because I only really started watching in 2014. Take all my opinions with a grain of salt. This is just my recommendations. This is what I enjoy in film. Is there something that I forgot that you like? Why don't you leave a little comment down there and tell me what I missed? I don't know, you probably like 12 years a slave or something, you friggin' normie. Anyway, still no outro, so, you know. That's how movie reviews work.